Hey, what's up everyone? I'm your host Troy from Roger Productions, and welcome to another Zelda Breath of the Wild analysis video. If you don't know already, Game Informer has gotten exclusive gameplay with Zelda Breath of the Wild. They've roughly played about 3 hours of it, and they've been releasing details all week, and they're going to be releasing more details throughout the month all the way up to release. In this video, I'm going to be analyzing all the details that they've given us and all the gameplay clips that they've shown us so far. There's some pretty interesting things that I found that I haven't really seen anyone else point out. I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into this. So first I'm going to start off with the gameplay clips, of course, and then I'm going to move on to the screenshots that they've shown us, and then last but not least, we're going to be discussing the small details that they have found out about the game when they were playing through their gameplay demo that they've listed in their new article on their website. In this scene, we see Link riding on his horse near a stable, and I'll show you where this stable is exactly on the map in a second. We see that he's riding his horse right near the stable. He probably just registered it. One of the things that they've listed in the details, it goes along with this scene, so I'm going to discuss it here. Each guy that runs the stable, they're all unique for each stable. Everyone has a different name. I don't know if they look different. I'm pretty sure they look kind of the same because I've seen this guy on other stables, but they each have a unique name. Hopefully they do look a little different because that would be kind of repetitive. And we see that this stable is near the snowy region, and we have some trees, and the region looks a lot different from the first stables we've seen so far, and I really like that. It gives variety. That's basically it for this scene. I don't really see anything else that's worth pointing out. And then here you see Link point his Sheikah Slate to a resurrection tower off in the distance, and they do this on purpose because the next scene is them on top of that resurrection tower. I didn't catch it at first, but after analyzing it, I noticed that they pointed at that resurrection tower for reasons, because the next scene, as you can see here, he's on top of that same exact resurrection tower looking down onto the stable right here. As you can see, it's surrounded by trees. That's exactly where Link was, and this scene is actually where I found most of the stuff. So before we begin analyzing this scene, I really needed to color correct it because a fog effect in the game made it really difficult for me to see structures far off in the distance. So let me do that real quick. So now that we can see much better and much farther, so now I can begin showing you the interesting things that I found in this scene. Let's start at the bottom right hand corner. We see what looks like probably a bokoblin fort, maybe. It's really hard to tell what it is because it's really far off the distance. All I can think of is it looks like some kind of enemy fort. Let me know what you think it is down in the comment section. I just thought I'd point it out because I saw it was the first thing I noticed. And then we see a Sheikah shrine a little above that. Another really interesting thing I've noticed is that above the castle in the sky, above those mountains behind the castle way off in the distance, it looks like to be some sort of cloud. At first I thought it was the ship, the bird ship that we've seen, but that's not located over there. That's located actually behind where Link is right now, and it only stays in that region. So I was scrolling through the footage, and it seems to actually kind of dissipate as the camera goes over to the left. It's obviously important, it's distinctive, it's not just a normal cloud, it's very dark and it's really noticeable, so it must have some importance. I just thought I'd point that out. I don't know what it is, but it looks very interesting. Maybe it's some sort of boss, maybe, I don't know, maybe a boss made out of clouds, who knows. I just thought I'd point it out. And then if you look over to the left from that, we see 3 resurrection towers in a line, and just look at that last one, the furthest one on top. Can you believe that we can actually travel to that? Look how far away that is. That is incredible that we can go that far in the game. This world is so massive, and it looks to be a little bit behind Death Mountain, which is far away as it is. It's just incredible. And then the next thing I noticed, I think all of you noticed it too, is the big tree right below Death Mountain. Obviously, all of you are thinking it's the Great Deku Tree. I honestly think there's going to be a twist with this tree. If it is the Great Deku Tree, it's going to be dead, and we're going to have to revive it somehow. There's going to be some twist, because we're going to go there, thinking, oh, this is how I get the Master Sword, and I think Nintendo is going to put a huge twist on it, because they're showing the tree, they want us to see it. They want us to go there, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. That's just a little theory I have. I could be totally wrong. The interesting thing I see is not the tree, but below the tree, it looks like there is a dense forest surrounding the tree. And that would make sense because from the trailers you've seen, the Great Deku Tree is in a dense forested area. From this far, obviously, the draw distance isn't going to render all those trees, but we can see if we zoom in, and I know it's still blurry, but if we zoom in, we can see a shadow, in front of the tree, and it just looks very, very dense. The greens get much darker, and it looks like a dense forest, and we can't see the bottom of the tree trunk. That's what really caught my eye. That's what made me notice this. We can't see the bottom of the tree trunk, so it looks like trees are surrounding the tree, a whole crap load. Hopefully it is the Great Deku Tree. Hopefully, it's not like a trick and we go there and it's not. Anyway, moving on from that, the next big thing I noticed is this huge trench in front of Link. That thing is massive, guys. Like, okay, put into perspective how big. Let's see here. Just look at the stable down there compared to this trench. Look how massive it is. It looks to be so deep. Maybe there's a river down there flowing. I'm hoping there's a river down there. It looks very interesting, and I definitely want to explore that. And then scrolling over to the left a little more, we see another stable in the snow region. So that's pretty cool. We get stables, all around Hyrule, so we can resupply, sell items because I'm pretty sure we're going to stock up fast in this game because there's so much to do, and there's so many enemies to kill, and so many weapons to gather. And hopefully we can sell weapons. That's another thing I've been questioning. Are we going to be able to sell weapons? Because I know we're going to have a lot of weapons because each enemy has a weapon. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be loading up on items, or we're constantly going to have to be getting rid of stuff and selling stuff and buying new stuff. So it's awesome that there's going to be stables all around Hyrule quite frequently, it looks like, because these stables, they are pretty far away from each other, but at least, they're not like only 3 in the game. There's going to be quite a few. And then going back over to the right, the last thing I wanted to point out to you guys is that I want to show you guys that there are not 4 pillars around the castle like everyone has been saying. There are actually 5 now that we get to see behind the castle. There are 5 pillars surrounding the castle, which is a very good thing in my opinion, because most likely, I think we can safely assume that these have something to do with dungeons. I mean, it's possible that they're not. They have nothing to do with dungeons, but most likely they're related or have some connection to the main dungeons in the game. And everyone was saying, oh, there's, 4 main dungeons, 4 pillars. Well, there's 5 pillars. So at least, worst case scenario, we have only 5 dungeons in the game instead of 4 dungeons. And I was really happy to see that there's 5 pillars, and now that we can confirm it since we can see behind the castle finally for the first time. And speaking of behind the castle, this is our first time that we're getting a different look at Hyrule, because for the past 6 months, we've seen nothing but footage from looking out from the plateau. But now we're seeing a perspective from Link looking from the snow region out to the castle. A whole different view of Hyrule. Now we get we get to see what Hyrule looks like behind the castle, and as we can see, it gets dense. It gets mountainous. It gets, there's a huge trench behind the castle. And as you can see here, we can actually see kind of behind Death Mountain, or what looks to be a trail that goes to Death Mountain over here to the left. And it's just crazy how Hyrule has all this, different terrain and mountains and plains and whatnot. It's just, I cannot wait to explore this world. And I'm really glad that we finally get a different perspective, a different view, because like I said, all we've seen is from the plateau looking out forward to the castle, and we haven't even seen behind the plateau either, where the Farron region is and where Lake Hylia is. There's just so much we haven't seen, and I'm really excited. I'm really glad that they haven't shown us everything, because when we pick up this game on March 3rd, there's going to be so much to explore that we haven't seen, so much discovery, and it's going to be amazing. Switching scenes finally, there's nothing really special in this one I found interesting or worth pointing out. There's a few resurrection towers in the background, and it's just Link riding his horse, fighting a guardian, which he later gets destroyed by, it looks like. But nothing really important. I'm pretty sure this is actually early on in Hyrule Field, right around here on the map. So we've actually already seen this in previous gameplay. Switching to the next scene, here we see Link riding his horse in the snow region, and he's about to fight some bokoblin on their own horses, with looks like to be a pitchfork of some sort. Speaking of horses and combat, a detail that Game Informer has listed in their article is that they found out while playing their gameplay demo is that horses can actually die in this game. They were doing some combat with their horse, like in this scene, and Bokoblin killed their horse. I was really shocked to read this because this is very unlike Nintendo, because that's pretty violent and sad to see a horse die in a game. And that's, so we got to be careful. We got to choose, do we want to save our horse and protect it and get off of it and fight? Or, I guess that's why it's a good thing that Nintendo let us have up to 5 horses that we can register at the stable, so that if our horses die, we have, others saved, so that we can just hop on those instead of having to go tame one after the other, So it's really cool that they let us register up to 5 horses. Yeah, that's crazy that horses can die. So keep that in mind. But other than that, there's nothing really special in this scene to point out. That mountain in the background looks massive. It might be the tallest point on the game, which is right here on the map, it looks like. It's hard to tell from the scene, but it looks, again, amazing to explore. I cannot wait to go to this region. It looks incredible. And switching scenes again, in this one it's just Link riding his horse through Hyrule Field, more further out, and it looks like the farther you go, the better this game looks. Look how beautiful this sunset is. The landscape looks so much different the farther you travel. It's just something to point out, like how much variety this game has just within the world itself. And then in the last scene, we see Link in a new Sheikah Shrine that we haven't seen before, carrying some sort of technology ball. So that's pretty cool that we see that there's going to be, different styles and forms of puzzle solving, because there are going to be 120 of these shrines, and one of my concerns were they might get repetitive. But hopefully this is a sign that each shrine is going to be totally different, a whole new way to solve a puzzle compared to the others that you've been to previously. And this is really good because one of my favorite things in Zelda games is puzzle solving. And if the rumor is true because Anuma said that this game has fewer dungeons than a normal Zelda would normally have. So I'm hoping that what he did here with the Sheikah Shrines, he implemented 120 of them so that we have all these puzzles to solve on the side and to make up for the fewer larger dungeons that we're going to get in the game. Speaking of dungeons, Game Informer did play through one, and they did fight the boss, which I'm not going to even talk about right here because I'm not about spoilers. I'm actually upset with myself that I read that far into the article. Speaking of the dungeon that they played through, I'm not going to spoil anything, but they did say that the dungeon felt smaller than the ones that were in Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. They said it fell a little short from the time it took us to complete Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess dungeons. So that kind of concerned me, but I'm not gonna, put a full opinion on it yet. It is just one dungeon they played through. They didn't have to go to the dungeon. Nintendo actually loaded up a saved file that put them already in the dungeon, so we don't even know how long it takes to get to these dungeons. So I'm not gonna put a full opinion on it yet, but it is a little concerning that they said that the dungeon fell a little short from Twilight Princess size dungeons. I think we were all hoping for massive, huge, 3 to 4 hour long dungeons, and from the one they played, it didn't take them that long to complete. And also there's no compass, there's no maps in the dungeon. It's strictly puzzle solving in a new way, which I'm not going to get into because they're spoilers. It's really weird to think about that we're not going to be getting compasses or maps or treasure chests, at least in the dungeon they played. That means they really are changing the Zelda formula drastically, because if those mechanics aren't in the game, I don't know. I'm not putting an opinion on it. I'm going to play the game and then, put my review on it. But that's what they said. That's what they experienced in the first dungeon. And I just wanted to let you guys know if you didn't know already. So now moving on to the screenshots, and I'm not going to be covering them all because one of them shows the boss from one of the dungeons that Game Informer got to complete. So I'm not going to be showing that, but I'm going to be covering the rest of the screenshots. So this first one shows Link about to go up a mountain with some tree-shaped rocks. I thought they were trees at first, but they look more like rocks, and it looks very interesting to explore this area. And from the looks of it, from all the gameplay and screenshots they've been showing, it looks like Game Informer stayed in the snow region for most of the time during their gameplay segment. It looks phenomenal, the area looks amazing, and I cannot wait to go to the snow region and explore it. And this next screenshot shows some skeleton Zalfos, And Game Informer did confirm that skeleton enemies do come out at night. I'm really glad they brought that back because it brings back old memories with Ocarina of Time and whatnot. And these things look like they're going to be doing a lot of damage. And look at that weapon that the right one is holding, like a spear made out of bones. Looks pretty cool. And they said that you can pick up any weapon that any enemy has, and that each weapon they've tried has a different animation, different speed, different stats, and whatnot, which we kind of already knew already, but said that the animations from all the different weapons they got to try, it's all different. Link handles them differently, and that's really cool to think about because that's a lot of animation that Nintendo had to implement. I'm really glad that they added that kind of detail to this game. In the next screenshot, we see a really good close-up of Beetle. Nothing really important to point out here, just it shows Link having a conversation with Beetle, and I cannot wait to see what kind of items Beetle has in this game and how his items get better as we progress through the game. Really excited for that. And in this screenshot, we see a huge lightning bolt coming down from the sky, and Game Informer did confirm that Link can get struck by lightning and die from it instantly. And the more metal objects and weaponry that you have, the more vulnerable Link is to getting struck by lightning. And they said that they were testing it out. They were actually trying to purposely get struck to see how it is. And your metal objects, or his shield and sword or whatever weapon he has, actually sparks a little bit right before he's about to get struck, to kind of warn you, like, get cover, get out of there, or drop your weapons, drop your metal objects. And they said that the weather is actually very dynamic. It changes constantly. So if a thunderstorm rolls around, you're gonna need to either get cover or drop all your metal weapons and items. And that's it for the screenshots. So last but not least, let me read to you the list of details that Game Informer did put in their article. And don't worry, I'm not going to list any of the spoilers. Obviously, all of this is spoilers because we're learning new things about the game, but I'm not going to list anything that has to do with bosses or story or the dungeon. So here are all the details that they have listed in their article from their 3-hour gameplay segment. So some of it might be spoilers to you, but I promise that it's nothing like major. I'm going to skip out on the dungeon details. And yeah, let me read these for you in case you haven't seen them yet. So general world. Nintendo previously made Zelda games by making small areas and connecting them together. For Breath of the Wild, the team first had to figure out what needed to be placed on the map. So were created out of over 300 devs to work on specific sections of the world. Game Informer's demo starts at Seren Stable. Yamo runs this place. Like I said, there's unique characters that run each stable, which is pretty cool. Link can rest in bed and restore health here, so you can sleep and restore your hearts. The stable also lets you store horses, meet with merchants and NPCs. We already knew that. Stables are located throughout the world. We already knew that. You can spend rubies on more expensive beds to give you an extra temporary heart, so you can actually upgrade your bed and sleep in it, and it'll give you one of those yellow hearts that are temporary. So that's pretty cool. Spending time by fires in the world passes time. Dynamic weather system in the game with the world reacting as a result. So when it rains, NPCs actually go inside and to get out of the rain. That's we have some smart NPCs and AIs finally in Zelda, it seems. And like I mentioned before, you have to be careful of thunderstorms because Link can get struck by them. Difficulty dips and spikes depending on where you are, since you can go around it and avoid it until you are stronger. This is what I was mentioning in my Where Will You Travel First Zelda video that I made last week. The farther you go, the stronger the enemies are going to get, so you're going to have to prepare. Otherwise, you're going to have to avoid that area until Link is stronger. Like I said, Link is not ready at the beginning to fight multiple enemies and, go way out into Hyrule. So you got to be careful because difficulty does dip and spike depending on where you are in Hyrule. And speaking of difficulty, Game Informer also said that when getting farther out into Hyrule and fighting stronger enemies, you can get overrun pretty quickly if you're not prepared. So say you're fighting Lizalfos and, you're fighting one. They said that, 2 or 3 others can come in out of nowhere because they use camouflage and just overrun you, and you're fighting 4 at a time. Because previously in Zelda games, enemies would only attack you 1 at a time, so one enemy would stand still while the other attacked you and they'd take turns. And now Game Informer confirmed that all enemies attack you whenever they want at once, so you got to be careful. You can get overran and get overwhelmed by enemies pretty quickly. There's another detail. It's not really a spoiler, but you can actually find an item that identifies and finds shrines for you, so that's pretty cool. Hopefully that doesn't come around too early in the game, but I really like that because I know shrines are going to be Anuma said that some shrines are going to be really, really difficult to find, so that's pretty cool. So shrines, we know that they give you a spirit orb at the end when you complete them. And Game Informer found out that the orbs can actually be traded for special unknown items that Nintendo did not tell them. So orbs have a purpose. You can get special items with them. But at least we don't know what the items are, so there's no spoilers. Obviously, the orbs were going to be used for something, so that's pretty cool that we're going to be able to get special items with them. When they were traveling through the snow region, they encountered bears, wolves, deer, and more animals in the snow region. So that's pretty awesome. The wildlife in this game is very realistic. This is a really big confirmation. I was actually questioning this. You can feed and take care of your horse to increase their stats. Because that was one thing I was questioning is, can horses' stats increase? And it looks like you can. By feeding them and taking care of them, over time their stats will increase. There will be no such thing as a companion in this game, and I honestly wanted that. I don't want a companion in Zelda. I'm the fairy, and this game is about literally setting your own path and exploring the world how you want. And having a companion of some sort or a fairy on your shoulder would make it would take the immersion out of the world, I think. And I'm really glad that they took out a companion. If you didn't already, the stamina meter can be upgraded, but Nintendo wouldn't tell Game Informer how. This is a really cool thing. Different shields have different speeds and level of control for snowboarding. So some shields will suck at snowboarding and some will be better. That's some fine detail that they've added in the snowboarding. You can mine rocks, which can be sold for rubies and used for crafting. So that confirms there is crafting in this game. You can make items or weapons of some sort, but Nintendo wouldn't comment on it and they wouldn't spoil anything. But there is crafting in the game. So on the map, when you look at it on the Sheikah Slate, you can actually put 9 different symbols around the map, and you can put up to 100 symbols on the map in totals. But there's 9 different symbols you can choose from, and those are a sword, a shield, bow and arrow, pot, star, chest, skull, leaf, and diamond. So if in case you find a secret area that you just can't explore at that moment because you're not prepared or something, you can mark it on the map with a certain symbol to remind yourself what that area was, what was there, and make your own legend for the map, basically. And I thought that was pretty cool that they added that in. Here's a very concerning detail in my opinion. All weapons will break. There is no invincible weapon. Okay, so no matter what badass weapon you find, however strong it is, it's eventually going to break. I find this kind of concerning because is that going to be the new annoying mechanic in Zelda? Because we can all agree there's always at least one really frustrating or annoying thing that they put in Zelda, like with Wind Waker and all the sailing, or Twilight Princess and the little item music that pops up when you find a new item, but it pops up no matter what, even if you already have seen that item. Or I just really hope this doesn't become an annoying part of the game. I know, like I said, every enemy has different weapons, and you're constantly picking up and throwing weapons. But hopefully it doesn't get tedious and where you're constantly like running out of weapons. I don't know. Hopefully it's balanced and it's not going to be a concern for us. So with this in place, we're obviously going to be saving our strongest weapons for stronger enemies. So if we're fighting weak enemies, we'll be using our weaker weapons and saving our strongest for the more difficult ones. So I guess that's where the balance will come from. We'll save what we don't want to break. And yeah, I just hope it doesn't become annoying. And I might as well put my Master Sword theory, since we're talking about weapons and invincibility. This is my theory on the Master Sword. We're gonna find it. It's gonna be broken. We're gonna have to do quests to revive it, multiple quests. And once we do revive it, it's gonna be back to its normal state. But it's gonna have a time limit before it goes back to its corrupted, broken state. That's my theory. So when Nintendo said there's no invincible weapons, I'm pretty sure they were telling the truth. Even the Master Sword will break over time, but I think we'll be able to revive it as many times as we want, but I'm pretty sure that it's not going to last forever. I think we're gonna we'll be able to revive it just enough time for us to go fight Ganon with. That's what I think it's going to happen. I think that's how the Master Sword is going to be used in the game. Another detail, Zelda can get mad at you. So decision making, that's what came up to my mind automatically. So we have decision making where we choose to do missions that will get other characters mad at us. Is there going to be sides to this game where like we help the Gerudo and get the Zoras mad at us, or we help the Zoras and get the Goron mad at us? Is it going to be like that where we actually get characters mad at us? We'll have to see. And now it goes into the dungeon details, which I'm not going to list here because they are spoilers, and that's one of the most intriguing things about Zelda games is exploring the dungeons. So I'm not going to get into it much, but the things I'm going to tell you is that there's no traditional treasure chest, there's no traditional compass and maps, and there's no signature item to a dungeon either. So you go in there, you complete it, and there's the boss, and the boss can be defeated any way you want, any way you find best. to defeat it. Obviously, bosses do have weaknesses from what Game Informer has listed here, but pretty much you can defeat it any way you want with any weapon you want. It's up to you. It's not item based, so the dungeons are very different from what we've seen in previous titles, and that's all I'm going to say about the dungeons because most of this stuff is spoiler material, so I'm not going to get into it. So that's the end of the details, guys. I just wanted to wrap up everything that Game Informer has shown us about the game this week into one video to show you what new things we're learning about this game, so that you don't have to, go through multiple videos to find out all the new details that we've gotten this week. So that's all of the non-spoiler details that we have got from Game Informer this week, and like I said, they're going to be releasing more every week all the way up to release. So next week, obviously, I'm going to have another analysis video, so make sure you subscribe here at Rajant Productions and stay tuned for that video. I put a good amount of time into this, so please consider giving it a like, and if you want, I'm pretty active on Twitter. You can find out what new videos I'm working on, so go ahead and follow me on there. I hope you all enjoyed, and hopefully you learned something new that you didn't know about the game before, or maybe I spotted something out you didn't see before. Let me know down in the comment section of anything that I possibly have missed. Also, let me know what you think of all these new details, and if you have any concerns or thoughts on the game now that you have this new information. Other than that, guys, I will catch you in the next video. Have a good one.